Countdown to economic collapse.
Hello, my name is DeKeesh, and I'm an economist. I've been practicing for more than 20 years, and I just wanted to let you know, at the end of World War II, with hyperinflation of upwards of 2,000% a year, by the time the worker would cash his paycheck and run to the store to buy a loaf of bread, the currency had devalued to such an extent he couldn't even purchase it. That's what's going to happen. Thank you, Mr. Bernanke, for your number one, lack of training, and number two, your expansion of the money supply to the point where, in the long run, we are all dead.
Countdown to economic collapse.
Welcome to Cambridge House Live. I'm Bridget Anderson, and I'm joined by Peter Schiff here at the Vancouver Resource Investment Conference. You are the CEO and Chief Global Strategist at Euro Pacific Capital, also fairly recent author of a book, The Real Crash, America's Coming Bankruptcy. Nice to have you here.
Thanks for having me on.
And let's start off with your book about America's coming bankruptcy. Give me your overview of where you think the American economy is.
Well, first of all, it's my most recent book. The first book I wrote came out in February of 2007, and that was called Crash Proof: How to Profit from the Coming Economic Collapse. The reason this book is titled The Real Crash is because the economic collapse that I wrote about in my '07 book hasn't happened yet. In that book, I did write about the housing bubble and why I believed it was going to burst, or why I believed there was a bubble.
You were right on the leading edge of that.
And I wrote about the ensuing financial crisis that would result from the bursting of the housing bubble. And so I did forecast the Great Recession that began in 2007. But more important than that was what I believed would come next. And that hasn't happened yet. That's the real crash. Because what really was worrying me was I was afraid the government would respond to the financial crisis by doing more of the same policies that caused it, which is more deficit spending, more cheap money, more central banking and central planning. And as a result, I think the U.S. economy is now poised for a much bigger collapse. I think that what's coming is a sovereign debt crisis and a currency crisis that will make the financial crisis of '08, look like, the proverbial Sunday school picnic.
The United States is headed for a total collapse. And it's not going to be just a financial collapse. The United States is headed for a total collapse.
Stagnation in commodity prices. Next comes deflation. And with deflation comes lack of effective demand. There are 5 components to creating our gross domestic product. consumption, investment, governmental expenditures, and savings. Consumption is by far the highest of all of the components of our gross domestic product, GDP, of the United States of America. When you have deflationary trends and lack of effective demand, you see consumption decline by massive amounts, and this is what they call the death spiral.
Countdown to economic collapse.
The United States is headed for a total collapse. And it's not going to be just a financial collapse. The United States is headed for a total collapse.